From the CBS Bay Area studios, this is KPIX 5 News.
Welcome back. It's just about 6:30. Good morning. I'm Devin Fehely.
And I'm Melissa Kane. Alameda County fire investigators will look into the cause of a blaze that destroyed much of a commercial building in San Leandro. It began last night near the corner of East 14th Street and Georgia Way. And some people who live nearby were forced to evacuate. A part of the roof collapsed at one point. Now, the fire was centered around an upholstery and home furnishing store, which is surrounded by several other businesses.
Firefighters initially started an interior fire attack. They were pushed back from the fire that they found in the building.
Well, there are no reports of injuries.
Oakland has officially opened its first city-sanctioned RV parking lot for the homeless. It's located just below the Coliseum BART station. It will be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and comes with security, garbage pickup, and bathrooms.
This is a pilot. We want to take risks. The biggest risk is doing nothing at all to address the homelessness crisis.
Right now, the parking lot is by invitation only, but the mayor says the city will open 2 more sites this summer, one for families, children, and single mothers.
And as summer fire danger heats up, PG&E is warning customers to prepare for precautionary outages. They could last for up to 5 days at a time. Certain weather conditions would need to be present, including a red flag warning, humidity below 20%, and sustained winds of at least 25 miles an hour, gusting to at least 40. Utility told the Mercury News that it's currently in the process of installing hundreds of weather stations and HD cameras in high fire danger areas.
Governor Gavin Newsom wants to set up a $21 billion fund to help utilities like PG&E pay for future wildfires. The governor says the utilities' investors would pay for it, not customers, and that rates would stay the same. Now, to use the fund, PG&E and other California utilities would need to meet new safety codes and reviews and spend billions on equipment upgrades. The governor's idea is still many steps away from becoming a law. At the same time, PG&E wants to hand out nearly $11 million in performance bonuses to its top executives, despite bankruptcy and billions in wildfire debts. The bonuses are a mix of cash and stock. PG&E calls them incentives, but they would need approval from a bankruptcy court to do it.
A round of federal immigration raids is expected this weekend. Agents from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, will reportedly target 10 cities, including San Francisco and Los Angeles. President Trump ordered a major roundup of illegal immigrants that have already received deportation orders. Organizations that work with immigrants are warning their clients to have a plan and know their rights, especially families who may have members with different legal status.
That parent needs to know who that child is going to be with in case they have to leave. And those conversations have to be had with the child. That's part of the preparation.
Our goal is to ensure that everyone understands what their rights are before they're pressured or coerced into signing away any of those rights.
The Washington Post reports that these raids will likely begin tomorrow morning. Now, up to 2,000 families could be targeted, although San Francisco is the only Bay Area city on the list. Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf says if these raids spread to her city, police officers will not help the federal authorities.
To direct the limited resources of this local community into things that my residents prioritize, and to not spend those resources for what is a civil federal matter.
In San Jose, Mayor Sam Liccardo released a statement which reads in part, "It's important for all members of our community, regardless of immigration status, to know they have rights, and that our police department will not participate in any ICE investigation or enforcement activity." San Jose also not on the list of cities. President Trump is defending his immigration policy in his first interview with a Spanish language network. He told Telemundo that the Obama administration is to blame for the current hardline approach.
When I became president, President Obama had a separation policy. I didn't have it. He had it. I brought the families together.
Was zero tolerance a mistake?
What zero tolerance means to me is we're going to be tough on the border.
The Trump administration announced its zero tolerance policy last year, and now the White House wants Congress to approve $4.5 billion to help tackle the humanitarian crisis at the border.
The Sacramento Police Department has released body camera video from the shooting that left a rookie officer dead.
Adele Police Department. department. If you're in here, let me know. You're not in trouble, dude.
The footage shows the ambush-style attack on the Sacramento Police Department that lasted for hours on Wednesday. Investigators say the shooter used a high-powered rifle, but a later search found even more weapons on that property.
I truly believe if officers utilized the equipment they had at the time, prior to retrieving the armored vehicle, we would have additional officers murdered on that day.
After Officer Tara OSullivan was shot during a domestic violence call, she lay wounded for about 45 minutes as the gunman kept firing. An armored vehicle had to be brought in before she was finally rescued. She would later die at the hospital.
There are no words to convey the depth of sadness we feel or how heartbroken we are for our family of our young, brave officer.
Officer OSullivan was shot while helping a woman collect her belongings to leave her home. As officers swarmed the area, the gunman continued firing. That standoff lasted about 8 hours in total before the gunman finally surrendered. Suspect Abel Ramos is due in court on Monday. Officer OSullivan's alma mater, Sacramento State University, will hold a community vigil in her honor tomorrow night at 8 o'clock.
In Richmond, police are investigating a drive-by shooting that left 4 people wounded. Now, it happened around 6:30 last night on 14th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue near Lucas Park. Now, none of the victims has life-threatening wounds, and most of them drove themselves to a hospital. But police have not released any details on the suspect's vehicle or a motive. And in San Mateo County, 2 drivers rushing to help were ambushed and stabbed to death. They were murdered just 24 hours apart. One victim drove a taxi, the other a tow truck. They went to this remote and mountainous stretch of Skyline Boulevard. Now, 26-year-old Malik Dasoki of Pacifica has now been charged with their murder. Prosecutors believe he lured the victims to their deaths. Sheriff's deputies say that they caught Dasoki trying to flee the scene, and those who knew the victims are now trying to make sense of the killings.
It's just a regular person savagely murdered for no reason. It's difficult to process that he is not here anymore.
Now investigators fear what else may the suspect have done, and they asked, if you have seen anything suspicious recently on Skyline Boulevard, please contact the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department.
Also in San Mateo County this morning, 3 people are facing criminal charges after a major fireworks bust. Redwood City Police seized more than 1,000 pounds of illegal fireworks. These boxes were found on the 3500 block of Hoover Street. The fireworks included so-called artillery shells and Roman candles. And a bomb squad actually had to be called in to dispose of those fireworks.
There's a new push to reopen an iconic theater in Contra Costa County. Lafayette's landmark Park Theater has been closed for more than a decade, but now a group of residents want to restore and reopen it as a cinema and entertainment venue.
And the great thing, too, is it used to run movies that you just wouldn't see in the major theaters. I think I actually even saw some animation festivals here, too.
Lafayette is considering a method that allows a developer to buy the theater and to help with renovations in exchange for building rights. The City Council will take up the issue on Monday.
Right now, Clusterfest is heating up in San Francisco. Today is day 2 of the massive comedy and music festival. The event, put on by Comedy Central, is in its 3rd year, but unlike the past 2, headliners won't have to perform outside in the cold. Sets are going on inside the Bill Graham Auditorium, and for die-hard comedy fans, tickets are still available. Some of the top headliners today: John Mulaney, Leslie Jones, John Van Ness, and friends Chelsea Peretti and Anthony Jeselnik.
All right, in the 7-day forecast, there's a trend. First of all, the weekend's going to be warm. It's going to be hot for some of us if you're inland, and it'll be warm for most of the rest of us in and around the bay. 77 may not sound bad, but it's about 6 to 7 degrees above average. But look at next week. We're going to warm right back down again. Much of the middle and second half of next week, we're going to cool down.
All right, it's time for us to call us the morning. Thank you for watching KPIX 5 News this morning.
We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock.